Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
On News Hour tonight, Senate approves appointment of 45 ministerial nominees, defers confirmation of Nasir El-Rufai and 2 others. ECOWAS to convene another extraordinary summit on Niger impasse. FCDA bulldozes Lugbe market as traders count losses. And on the foreign scene, Ethiopia government accuses Amhara militia of trying to overthrow the government. Well, hello there. Thank you very much for joining us on the News Hour. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. We start with the latest from the National Assembly as the screening of ministerial nominee Festus Keyamo through the Nigerian Senate's plenary on Monday into a rowdy session as lawmakers debated whether to suspend his screening exercise. A point of order raised by Senator Darlington Nwokocha underscored the need for the Senate to revisit public utterances made by the former minister before he's screened by the Senate. However, after a closed session, the Senate cleared the nominee after Keyamo tendered an apology to the Nigerian Senate.
Citing Section 88B of the 1999 Constitution as amended, Senator Nwokocha, representing Abia Central, observed that Keyamo had in the last administration refused to appear before the Senate to explain how the sum of 52 billion naira appropriated for Nigerians was spent. He accused Keyamo of disrespecting the Ninth Assembly by refusing to appear before it for questioning over how the said sum was shared at 20,000 naira each for beneficiaries. He also reminded his colleagues on how Keyamo had accused the Ninth Assembly of being corrupt.
And I'm happy the way the president has sent so many people, great people here. We have questioned them, passed through the screening, wonderful people, and we're ready. As much as they are ready to work with the system, we are ready to clear them.
Senate President Godswill Akpabio thereafter subjected the motion to a voice vote. The lawmakers were, however, divided on the matter as the senators could not reach a conclusion. The Senate President Akpabio then asked that they go into closed session for further deliberations on the matter.
That I do support that this nominee should be stepped down pending when he decides that the National Assembly has that right to inquire into the workings of a minister and his ministry.
Those who are in support of this closed session has moved, say aye. Those who are against, say nay. The ayes have it.
Speaking after the Senate resumed from closed session, Keyamo tendered an apology, saying the apology is without reservation. He said the entire register of the beneficiaries of the Special Public Works and their details, including their account number and BVN, are with the National Directorate of Employment.
Subsequently, there were so many hearings, budget defense and all that we attended on a very convivial atmosphere. So the apology is without reservation.
Senator Godia Akwashiki urged his colleagues to accept Keyamo's apology. Senator Ali Ndume thereafter moved the motion that the Senate do accept the apology and allow him leave the Senate. Ndume's motion was seconded by Senator Barinadi Bingi, a PDP senator from Rivers State. Akpabio thereafter asked the nominee to take a bow and go. Rashidat Yusuf, for Trust TV News.
Now, staying with the Senate, the Nigerian Senate has confirmed 45 ministers designate for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, with the exception of former Governor of Kaduna State Nasir El-Rufai, Abubakar Danladi from Taraba, and Stella Oketete from Delta State. The Senate has screened El-Rufai, Danladi, and Oketete alongside the 45 other nominees. But during the confirmation on Monday, the President of the Nigerian Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, explained that the 3 nominees that were not confirmed are still undergoing security checks. The confirmation of the nominees was done at the Committee of the Whole, following which the Senate resolved into plenary where the 45 nominees were confirmed with the notable exceptions of El-Rufai, Oketete, and Abubakar Danladi.
The Senate has so far approved and confirmed the nomination of about 45 ministers out of the total nominees of 48 ministerial ministers sent to us by the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The others are still awaiting security clearance.
Away from the Nigerian Senate now, the chairman of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of the Economic Community of West African States and Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has convened another extraordinary summit of the authority on the political situation in Niger Republic. The summit will hold in Abuja on Thursday, August 10, 2023. A statement published on the website of the West African Regional Bloc said on Monday. According to the statement, the ECOWAS leaders will be discussing the political situation and recent developments in Niger Republic during the summit. The summit is coming after the expiration of the 7-day ultimatum given to the military junta by ECOWAS to reinstate ousted President Mohamed Bazoum or face military action. In the meantime, Niger's coup leaders have closed the country's airspace until further notice. The 7-day ultimatum given the military junta expired on Sunday, remaining adamant after holding a massive rally showcasing support from the civilian population who joined the military leadership in keeping vigil on the streets of Niamey and other major cities across Niger Republic. Well, let's get some insight on this developing issue. Joining us on the program is Dr. Umar Ardo, a politician and a public affairs commentator, to further unpack the developments with regards to what's happening in Niger Republic. Doctor, good evening, and thank you very much for joining us on the News Hour.
Thank you.
First of all, your initial thoughts about the ultimatum. Now that it has elapsed, apparently the military juntas has called the bluff of ECOWAS, and so far nothing has happened. What is your reading of the situation?
Well, the ultimatum didn't say that at its expiration we are going to invade the next day. It didn't. And we have seen the defense chiefs met and they resolved that they are ready. They are only waiting for the go-ahead from the ECOWAS authority. This go-ahead hasn't come, but they are going to hold their meeting on Thursday. And I believe the envoy sent to Niger, led by our former head of state, General Abdul Salam, with His Eminence the Sultan, they have done a good work. They have engaged the junta, and the junta is willing and ready, to dialogue with ECOWAS in order to resolve the problem. They know that if they do not comply with ECOWAS, they are likely going to be war, which all of us are opposed to. Now, what I believe the ECOWAS needs to do is to give the junta a face-saving strategy, an exit, a negotiated exit. They should discuss with them and agree on what to do. Let them call them and ask for their input in how to resolve this.
Do you believe that option is on the table? Because you look at the reading of the body language of the military leadership in Niger Republic, it doesn't look like they're willing to budge.
No, it's because of the way they were approached. They were not told of anything. They were given an ultimatum. Their borders were closed. Their airspace was closed. Their power supply.
Economic sanctions?
Yes, economic sanctions and so on and so forth. So we didn't actually give them, a room to discuss. And you know what it is? You said that return this one that you have overthrown and then go. Now, if you return him, what will be the fate of the perpetrators of the coup? We know
you think there has to be an exit strategy that guarantees their safety?
There has to be a negotiated exit.
Right.
If they don't do that, then the junta will definitely dig in, because any other thing that the junta, they know that it is their lives that are on the line. Okay. If anything happens, they will be executed. And if you know that your life is on the line, you will die fighting.
Okay, you look at the situation, right? This is a very popular military takeover. Apparently, judging by what's happening on the streets of Niger, the people are happy about this particular development. But the military intervention itself is very, very unpopular across the continent especially. What comes next for both ECOWAS if they still have to contemplate military intervention, and especially for the military leadership? What comes next, especially when you look at ties being cut and airspaces being shut?
I can assure you both sides need a face-saving device. ECOWAS needs a face-saving device because it has already acted in such a way that it ought not to have acted. They've given an ultimatum. The ultimatum has failed, and the generality of our people in Nigeria and across the continent, they are opposed to this. And unfortunately, there seems to be a new revival against colonialism or neocolonialism. So the wind is sweeping across Africa and West Africa, and especially across French-speaking countries. Let us not be on the wrong side of history, because when the wind of change is blowing and you want to go against the tide, you will end up being blown away.
Doctor, you seem to be very optimistic about negotiations and dialogue. The ECOWAS sent a delegation. The military leadership refused to see them. They saw them. I mean, even the Abdul Salami delegation, they did not meet them.
They saw them.
Not the leadership. Not the leadership of.
They met the third.
They did not meet with Chiani, who is the leader of the coupists.
He was out of the country.
Right.
He was in Conakry. Just when you people, the Nigerians and ECOWAS were moving people across for diplomatic discussion, they themselves, they are doing so. They are not sitting at home.
It is our understanding that the ECOWAS delegation that didn't even spend the night in Niger Republic were not received by the leadership of the military.
The ECOWAS delegation received them well. They sent the third most high-ranking general and high-ranking member of the coup. The second-ranking member of the coup was not in the country, and protocol. The head of the junta will not just sit down and open his arms and say, "Come over." And besides, there is suspicion in the junta. The junta will obviously suspect. You said you are going to kill me, then you send me a delegation to come and talk with me. I will, of course, be
I'm not
suspicious.
sure the word kill was used.
When you are going to invade them. You are going to go into war. War is killing.
I think the point of the intervention is to reinstall Mohamed Bazoum.
Is to remove them first and then install Bazoum. Then what happened to them after?
Okay.
Their fate is lying in the balance.
Just on a final note on Niger, because we have to talk about the ministerial confirmation. How do you see this ending?
Well, I don't know how it will end, but I suggest that ECOWAS should give the Nigerian junta a face-saving exit device.
And will they take
a negotiated exit? They will take it with Abdul Salam and with the Sultan. I can guarantee you they will take it. Because the officers that were there, some of them were trained in Nigeria Defense College here. Most of them are trained by Nigerians. We know each other. There is intermarriages amongst each other. They know them, one-on-one, so they will accept. And it is in the best interest of ECOWAS, and in the best interest of the sub-region, in the best interest of Nigeria, and in the best interest of the Tinubu regime to give a negotiated exit so that we have a face-saving device.
Okay, it remains to be seen what would come next. But bringing it back home to the conversation around ministerial screening, the Senate just confirmed 45 out of the 48 ministerial nominees that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu sent in. The most notable omission from that list is former governor of Kaduna State. First of all, give me a summary of what you make of the nominations, the screening exercise, and this confirmation of 45 ministers designate.
Well, as for the nominees, I see the president made this nomination with an eye to the next election. Either for 2027 or for a rerun after the as an outcome of the tribunal. That informed the nomination because he brought in former governors who had support base and so on and so forth. So that is it. Then, as of the candidates, many of them, it's just, I can say, comme ça. They are there. The biggest problem that Buhari faced was to get, ministers that did not fit in their position, the offices that they held, and they could not give him good advice. As it is, if the president has surrounded himself with good advisors, this issue of Niger would have taken a different turn. The ultimatum could not have even come. He would have started with a dialogue. He would have actually, consulted first before taking decision. Now he took a decision, and this decision is coming, to hurt him and to hurt the regime. So I think he needs, to also beef up in some of these nominees.
Okay, as far as the confirmation is concerned, if you are in El-Rufai's position, will you be worried that the Senate is yet to confirm you?
This is not the first time that El-Rufai is going to, facing this. When he was nominated as Minister of the FCT by the Obasanjo regime, the Senate rejected him. The Senate,
but this wasn't a rejection per se.
No, I understand, but at least this one, they said that they have stepping it down. I believe he will somehow scale through. And for whatever you will say of Nasir El-Rufai, he is not the best of people that I would say I would relate with. But at least, he has the guts to say his own mind the way he thinks things, should be said. And that will go for the regime. The biggest problem he's also facing is he has too many enemies, too many political enemies. Some generic, some personal.
Okay.
And that is not good, for a regime to have in office.
Yeah, and just a yes or no question. Are you satisfied with the performance of the Senate as far as the screening is concerned?
I would neither say yes or no.
Right, okay. Dr. Uwala, thank you so much for sparing your time for joining us on the News Hour. We appreciate your insight on this conversation. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Right. All right, we'll now join Abdul Latif Aliu from Lagos via Zoom, who would shed light on some of the developments in Niger, especially with regards to that closure or shutting down of the airspace and how it could have a ripple effect as far as air travel is concerned, because there are a lot of concerns around how that could actually trigger a steep rise in the prices of air tickets, especially outgoing and inbound flights coming into this part of the world. Abdul Latif, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening.
Right. First of all, give us an understanding of what this actually means as far as the aviation sector is concerned. What sort of disruption are we likely going to see?
Okay, thank you very much. Let me first of all start by saying that the situation in Niger Republic is no longer news, and we also understand the fact that yesterday, which was Sunday, was the expiration of the deadline given to the coup leaders in Niger Republic to actually restore democracy to that country and reinstate the detained president, Mohamed Bazoum. And maybe as a kind of preemptive measure, the coup leader in the Niger Republic quickly announced the shutdown of the airspace in Niger Republic as more like a preemptive measure to prevent any form of attack. For now, the situation is anytime airspace is shut down, definitely the civil aviation is affected. We still remember what happened in Sudan in May just recently, which affected the Hajj flight to Saudi Arabia. Now, a lot of flights, especially flights that are connecting Europe, there is no way they will not be affected because Niger airspace is a major airspace for that. Most of the airlines that are going to European countries, that they have to fly over the Niger airspace. It's not that they're actually landing or having a stop in Niger, but they will fly over it. But with the closure of the airspace, it means they will have to reroute their flight, which is going to take another more like 30 minutes, 1 hour of flight time for most of the airlines.
perhaps more money as far as passengers are concerned. What do you think is likely going to happen as far as air travel, economically speaking, for passengers who are traveling in or coming back this way? What is likely going to happen as a result of this impasse?
Okay, when we recall what happened with the case of Sudan, most of the airlines that were actually allocated were assigned to airlift our pilgrims there. They had to return to the drawing table by renegotiating with NACO. But what we actually find out today is that as far as we are at the moment, we have not really seen any significant change in airfare. They are still monitoring the situation, but there is no way it will not affect airfare, and most of the airlines will begin to adjust their fare because they will have to pass over different airspace just to avoid that Niger airspace. And what that means is that they will have to burn extra fuel, they will have to spend more money on their crew and several other logistics. Now, immediately, we've not really seen any major effect. But when this issue is still ongoing and we've not been able to find a solution to it, there is no way some of the airlines will not adjust their fare, because what we're actually witnessing is the fact that most of the airlines, especially those going to Europe, they will have to probably reroute their flight map, probably going through Chad or going through other countries just to avoid that Niger airspace. And this means extra cost for most of the airlines.
Okay. I suppose it also means extra risk. And for the airlines, they would have to consider their risk versus reward ratio, and that would count in pounds or dollars or whatever the case may be for passengers flying in and out of this part of the world. Abdul Latif Aliyu, thank you very much for the insight and the analysis. We really appreciate you very much for joining us tonight. Right, moving on to some of the day's other news. Here in Abuja, a mild pandemonium ensued on Monday in Lube area of Abuja when officials from the Federal Capital Development Authority stormed the building material market to remove illegal structures. Now, the FCDA came alongside security personnel, demolishing the illegal market which has thrived over the years. The report.
The market houses small businesses but sits under the electricity transmission line. Store owners were seen trying to save their wares from the rolling bulldozers brought to destroy their stores. The store owners are counting their losses after the exercise.
As our chairman has said, we cannot drag with the government. We are individuals, but the government should come to our aid. If there's anything, our office is over there. We need to be informed in time that something is going to happen. We pray that what has happened is for the best.
Wood, ties, a lot of things. So they bring it in trailers, in pickups, in diners. So those motor cannot enter that environment. As I'm talking to you, if you go there, you see a kind of water flowing. Even ordinary car cannot enter that.
For the past 20 years, we have been here. If the government wants to demolish, at least they should allocate another place for us. We are the ones building Abuja. I'm inviting you to visit this place on Sunday. You will see how busy this place will be. Enter the market, you will see the amount of machine in the market. Because we take supplies to every part of the city, be it stone and everything. If we don't have where to stay, where will the builders get their supplies from? The government should please have mercy on us. We have not been informed of this demolition. We are all Nigerians and this is our country.
FCTA's Director, OD Development Control, Mukhtar Galadima, speaks on the exercise.
It's an ongoing exercise of the city cleaning as well as removals of illegal structures and shanties. Furthermore, this area that we're operating today is the corridor of the Ring Road 3 that will take you up to Gorimpa to Public Service Institute along Honest. So it's going to link up with Saraji and Apple Mechanic District. And behind you can see a high tension line. TCN has already awarded contract for the energization of this line as well as empowering the corridors. So we have to remove it before they come and do their own operation.
Notice for demolition has been given to the market authorities over a period, but was neglected.
Now in Kano State, Governor Abba Yusuf has sworn in the first female Chief Judge of Kano State, Justice DJ Audu Abuki, with an appeal for the support from the judiciary. Governor Yusuf urged the judiciary to support his administration's demolition and anti-graft policies to enable it to recover public assets allegedly acquired illegally by the immediate past administration in Kano. He spoke on Monday while swearing in the Chief Judge in Kano. The governor explained that his administration's desire to demolish illegal structures and recover public properties is for the development of Kano State. He described the relationship between the judiciary, legislature and the executive as non-competitive but complementary, promising to continue to maintain a cordial relationship among the three arms of government. Responding, Justice Abuki said she was grateful to God for the opportunity and promised to serve the people with integrity, honesty and justice, as well as to do her best to ensure that the rule of law is always adhered to in Kano State. Troops of the Joint Task Force under Operation Hadarin Daji has neutralized scores of suspected terrorists in Katsina, Kebbi, Sokoto and Zamfara states in northwest Nigeria. The troops arrested 2 suspected terrorists at Gundumi and Gigane villages of Godaba local government area of Sokoto state during a routine patrol in the troubled villages. And in another development, troops of Zamfara state, while responding to a distress call about suspected terrorist activities along the Safi-Gusau highway between Tazame and Tabani villages under Bungudu local government area of the state, forced the terrorists to retreat. A similar incident was recorded when troops of Forward Operation Base Garin Hausawa forced terrorists in Modubia village in Danko Wasagu local government area of Kebbi State to abandon their kidnapped victims and flee. In Sokoto State, troops of special forces, while on routine patrol along Gundumi and Marnona roads, neutralized 1 suspected terrorist while others escaped with gunshot wounds. Now, the police in Plateau State are working to unravel the circumstances behind the mysterious death of a medical doctor working with Jos University Teaching Hospital. The deceased was reportedly found in the house of his neighbor in Favwe community of Jos South local government area of the state. Trust TV's Adu Musa reports that the mysterious death happened just 6 weeks after the doctor's wedding.
Unaware that his dead body was laying close to them, the family of the deceased were busy wondering what could have happened to their breadwinner, delaying his return home after the day's work. Let Dr. Silas die 6 weeks after his wedding, and the cause of his death is still mysterious, as residents of the apartment who are now in the police custody said the deceased came to their house around 4 a.m. after returning from the work, but could not explain how he died. The wife of the deceased, Dina Sadmak, says her husband left home on Tuesday night for the hospital, and that was the last she has seen of him.
My mind was telling me, follow him. So Anon said, no, why will you follow him when he's going to work? So I was watching the way they were walking, him and his niece and nephew, walking till they reached the other shop. And I said, okay. Now I remember he wanted to buy something for them. So he came back home.
She says she will live to remember her husband for many things.
I don't have anybody that I think I love in my entire life the way I love him. I love him the way Christ loved the church. And I'll continue to love him.
With 6 weeks after their wedding, the wife said she would have loved to have children with her husband before his death.
Last week, Saturday, he took me to College of Nursing. I'm a journalist. But he said he wanted me to go to medical line. Asked me to buy the phone. I submitted. He has been following up. And he took me to the school.
The mother of the deceased, Lillian Gideon, also shares her grief over the demise of her son.
He is my only son. And I remember all the promises he gave unto me. Mommy, don't worry. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I say, what happened? that this promising child would just go like that.
Although the occupants of the house where Dr. Silas' body was found dead were arrested, the cause of the death of the young doctor is still mysterious. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
Now, the current economic challenges in Nigeria is forcing offices to design work plans that will allow members of staff to work from home. Now, working from home became globally popular during the COVID-19 pandemic, and the idea is now being reintroduced to cope with the rising cost of living in Nigeria. Adamu Imam reports from Bauchi.
Some temporary measures have been introduced by many working institutions across the country as a strategy to reduce the current economic pressure on Nigerian people. One of those strategies is working from home, which reduces costs of transportation and challenges the creativity of workers. However, it does not seem that the strategy is acceptable to all workers. Workers in Bauchi State, for instance, have divergent opinion on whether the decision is feasible.
I can cope or fight the idea of high cost of living because of the challenges we are facing in this country, especially the high cost of food price, transportation, and all that. If the government, especially the federal government of Nigeria, can find a situation that can fight these challenges, and for the masses or for the people of Nigeria to ease this hardship they are facing, that is a good idea, or this is a welcome idea.
You already have distraction from the person that is a family man. The young man, he wants to go and chill with his friends, this and that. At the end of the day, the job he's supposed to do, because already when you are in the workplace, there are already distractions within the work environment already. The distractions are going to be greater if we are working from home. So advisably, let's just continue to work in the office. I know a lot of people might not like the statements that we should not work from home, but for the system to grow, definitely we have to work from the workplace.
For worker to go to office for only 3 days, it will delay our activities that we have in the office. But what I see here is that if they will reduce it, let it be 2 people in one position of working, so that if one person is at home, one person is there. If another person is there, another person is at home.
This worker believes optimal results may not be achieved as a result of distraction while working from home. He believes other social conflicts may arise, which may impact negatively on productivity.
The way we have been programmed, it is that when you come to the office, you are doing office work. When you are at home, you are doing things you are supposed to do at home. So for me, it is not going to be good for the system. But if they want to do it, I think the worker is going to be the one to enjoy, because you spend less days at work and more days at home.
Rather than adopt this alternative, the workers believe government should put more efforts into providing palliatives, which, if they reach the common man, will reduce the impact of hardship on the people. Adami Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
While you're watching the news hour on Trust TV, coming up ahead, we take a look at an old custom on female inheritance and how the landscape is changing. Details of this and many more stories coming up ahead after the break.
This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
That's right, you too could be one of the
20 Zenith Bank customers that will win 150,000 naira every 2 weeks from June 1st, 2023 until May 31st, 2024 in the Zenith Better Life Promo 3. To qualify, simply open a Zenith Bank account. For more information, visit www.zenithbank.com/betterlife. Live the better life with Zenith Bank.
Welcome back, and thank you very much for staying with us on Trust TV's News Hour. Here's a reminder of our top stories at this hour. Nigerian Senate approves appointment of 45 ministerial nominees, defers the confirmation of Nasir Rufai and 2 others. ECOWAS reconvenes another extraordinary summit after expiration of 7-day ultimatum to Nigeria's military junta. Now, no fewer than 3 persons were killed on Sunday morning by gunmen in Chia village of Mungu local government area of Plateau State. Spokesperson of Operation Safe Haven, a multi-security task force maintaining peace in Plateau State, Captain O.A. James, who confirmed the incident, also says 2 suspects have been arrested in connection with the killing. Captain James further says that security operatives have been deployed to the affected area, adding that the incident was not an attack but an assassination on the persons. Joshua Musa, a resident of the village who confirmed the incident, says the villagers were killed around 1 a.m., adding that the corpses were moved to Mungu town, a move that led to protests across the community. The spokesperson, however, says the situation has been brought under control. Now, the Nigerian Army has in the last 3 weeks flagged off Operation Hakorin Damisa 4 to prevent further escalation of the crisis between the Magavul and Fulani communities in Plateau State. Now, the main protagonist in the ongoing job racketeering scandal rocking the Federal Character Commission, Harun Okolo of the IPPI's desk office in the commission, has accused the chairman of the chairperson of the commission, Muhida Dankaka, of being the brain behind the job fraud in the commission. Now, this is as the House Committee continues its investigation to unravel mismanagement in ministries, departments, and agencies of government. The report.
The committee room was full to capacity with representatives of government agencies invited to give account of the level of complicity and the alleged job racketeering rocking their agencies.
I have my evidences against them.
Harun Okolo, the man at the center of the whole saga, appeared suddenly at the investigative panel to spill it all to amazement of those present. He accused the chairman of the Federal Character Commission of being the brain behind the job racket and using him as a front.
Shehu is the PA. He served as the PA to the Tribal Commission and driver. She instructed me to liaise with him. So if there's any, as a desk officer of IPPS HR module, I'm responsible of taking whoever is recruited in Federal Character to IPPS for capturing.
He said his numerous bank accounts were also used to house the said monies collected, which is delivered by withdrawal through point of sales POS for onward delivery to the FCC chairman in her home. Other commissioners also refuted the allegations of the chairman.
In the document the chairman provided to this honorable committee, there was no picture, no date, no name of MDA that I went with the so-called fake commissioners.
There was nowhere in the petition where it was stated directly by implied terms that I promised the owner of the said property that I was going to use slots to pay.
The allegations were ever refuted by the executive chairman of the commission, who also accused Haruna Kolo of lying against her.
The chairman said it was fake, and she even referred those later to disciplinary committee. Our own concern here is to be just.
The chairman of the committee, however, assured all parties in the matter of a fair hearing and appealed to them to maintain decorum pending the next sitting.
How comes you take letter to an agency, the agency rejected? They asked you to take the letter again and the agency collected the letter. Something is missing there, and we'll get to the root of the matter.
The committee adjourned to Tuesday for continuation of the ongoing investigation, with other agencies expected to make submissions.
As they say, the plot continues to thicken. Now in Oyo State, Governor Seyi Makinde has advised leaders and members of various labor unions in the state to be wary of elements of destabilization who are bent on truncating the peace witnessed across the state. The governor gave the advice in Ibadan during the course of a reconciliation meeting to end a week-long industrial action that has paralyzed social and economic activities over the last 7 days. The report.
It's a final halt to a week-long industrial impasse between the labor movement in Oyo State and the state government on the other hand. Union leaders are here at loggerheads with local authorities and have failed to agree on issues bordering on the review of salaries and pensions, payment of outstanding deductions, leave bonuses, poor working conditions, amongst other contentious issues. After 7 days of downing tools, the governor and his team are meeting with members of various unions. At the meeting, Governor Makinde assured of improved welfare for workers and pensioners and also promised to do more to make their lives more meaningful and rewarding.
Let us remember that this is our state. Anywhere else that we can call home.
There was a big gap of communication between us and the government. And kudos to the SSG as well. She summoned a meeting yesterday. We were together and we've mapped out. I'll be having the quarterly meetings. Either the governor is around or not.
The governor had met with labor union leaders in a closed-door section where they both resolved to sheathe their swords and put the interest of workers as priority.
And in Delta State, the state government has begun opening up all major canals across the state as part of measures to ensure the free flow of water to existing rivers and prevent flooding in major cities across Delta State. This is coming after the prediction of heavy flooding, particularly in some coastal states across Nigeria, by the Nigeria Meteorological Agency. The Director General, Special Duties Government House, Asaba, Frank Omare, who monitored the clearing of the canals, we started from Efurum in Uvwe, local government area of the state, down to Warri and Warri South local government area of Delta State, stressed that the state government is determined to do the right thing. Omare told journalists in Warri that Governor Sharif Obori is determined to do everything within his powers to ensure that flood disasters become a thing of the past in the state. Residents of Delta State have deferred on the custom largely in the east, which forbids a female child from inheritance. In this report, Jonathan Awanyai examines the rights of female children to inheritance of property from their family.
Even though the Supreme Court had long laid to rest the eligibility of female offspring to partake in the sharing of their family property in a landmark judgment, to some residents of Delta State, women should not be given the same rights of inheritance as their male counterparts. They argue that it is not ideal for women, particularly the married ones, to come back to share her father's property with the sons.
Man have equal rights. Is traditionally, it differs from one tradition to another. And in our tradition here, the man have more right on the property than the woman. It's not an equal sharing because the man bear the name of the father while the woman grow up and go to marry.
Others describe the tradition as repulsive to equity in the modern day. They argue that female offspring deserve same rights given to their male counterparts and therefore should not be discriminated against.
When their father is late and they have maybe 1 or 2 or 3 the month, what they normally do, they will drive the woman, carry your things and go home. But some women, they will tell you that nothing like that. You cannot drive me because me and my husband, we are the one who built this house. You have no right to drive me. And the children will now come up. You cannot drive my mother because your mother, they pay the birth price of your mother, and my mother, they pay my mother's birth price. You have no right to drive my mother. So whatever they are going to share, they must share it your children.
According to Barrister Andrew Ako, the Supreme Court decision settled beyond all doubts the fundamental right of a female to participate in the inheritance of her deceased father's estate.
Customary practice and tradition exhibiting or prohibiting female gender from inheriting the estate of their parents, of their deceased parents, is repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience. And such custom and tradition also is against the spirit of Section 42 of the 1999 Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria, which prohibits gender discrimination.
Many are of the opinion that denying female children rights to their parents' properties is an extension of discrimination against women.
Well, you're still watching the News Hour on Trust TV. We'll be back with more news after the break. Join us again. Welcome back to the news now. For today's latest in business, let's join Tamung Dabeng for the latest.
Officials of the Nigerian Customs Service (NCS) have been charged to remain on high alert when guarding the land border as a result of the federal government's restriction on transit cargo to neighboring Niger Republic. Acting Comptroller General of Customs Adewale Adeni issued the order to service personnel while on a working visit to the NCS's Ogun Area 1 Command's headquarters in Idiroko, Ogun State. He said the alert covers land borders with the Benin Republic, Cameroon, and other countries. In light of the recent closing of Nigeria's border with the Niger Republic, he advised them to maintain a high level of vigilance. Adeni noted that criminals may look into other land borders such as those with Cameroon and Benin Republic in an effort to sneak weapons into the Niger Republic. In order to shed its past dependence on oil and embrace a more diverse commercial environment, the federal government has started a revolutionary economic program called Export 774. The project, led by the Nigeria Export Promotion Council (NEPC), intends to unlock the export potential of all 774 local government areas, laying the foundation for the country's economic revival and rise to international prominence. Executive Director of NEPC, Dr. Ezra Yakusak, highlighted in a speech in Abuja the necessity of exporting goods and services produced in Nigeria. Yakusak stated that the creation of the Export 774 program will open the door for more foreign investment and growth chances by illuminating the export potential across various locations, identifying viable items and evaluating market competitiveness. The Federal Road Safety Corps and the Nigerian Insurers Associations (NIA) have entered into partnership in order to guarantee that drivers have legitimate auto insurance. The NIA chairman, when he recently accompanied a group of members of the NIA's governing council to Abuja to meet the Corps Marshal FRSC Dauda Aliubiu, asked for greater support. They afforded him the opportunity to present his vision of expanding the frontiers of insurance through partnership and stakeholder engagement to the FRSC. He said the NIA will continue to be a strong ally and will do everything in its power to support the Corps Marshal and his team. He requested the continuous assistance of the FRSC in the certification of authentic insurance in accordance with the law. That's all for Business News. I am Chamun Dabeng.
And now to developments on the international scene. A senior Ethiopian government official is accusing militia groups in the Amhara region of seeking to overthrow the regional and federal governments following days of fighting that led to authorities to declare a state of emergency across the region. Clashes between Fano militiamen and the Ethiopian National Defense Forces continued over the weekend. Residents of Gondar, Amhara's second biggest city, say that heavy weapons fire that began on Sunday could still be heard well into Monday morning. The conflict has quickly become Ethiopia's most serious security crisis since a 2-year civil war in Tigray region, which neighbors Amhara ended in November last year. Now, Temeksin Tirune, the Director General of Ethiopia's National Intelligence Service, who was appointed to oversee the enforcement of the state of emergency, acknowledged that militia fighters had taken some towns and districts. The state of emergency declaration gives the security services the powers to impose curfews, restrict movement, ban the carrying of guns and sharp objects, ban public gatherings, and make arrests, as well as conduct searches without warrants. And in Senegal, the opposition leader, who has been on a hunger strike protesting his detention, has been admitted to hospital according to his supporters. Ousmane Sanko was hospitalized on Sunday at the main hospital in Senegal's capital, Dakar, according to a statement from his now dissolved party, the Patriots of Senegal, PASTEF. Sanko, who is age 49, was arrested on July 28th and has been charged with plotting an insurrection, undermining state security, and criminal association with a known terrorist body. He began his hunger strike 2 days later. PASTEF says Sanko had been admitted for emergency care and held the authorities responsible for his condition, adding that prior to his imprisonment, he was in good health and had no known illnesses. Sire Clédoré, one of Sanko's lawyers, confirmed the hospitalization but did not disclose his health condition. There was no immediate comment from the Senegalese government. Sanko placed third in the West African country's presidential election in 2019 and is very popular with youths across the country. His arrest and the dissolution of his party ignited deadly protests across Dakar last week. At least 2 people died during the unrest, while several others were wounded. In sports now, England scraped through to the quarterfinals of the ongoing Women's World Cup with a dramatic penalty shootout victory over Nigeria's Super Falcons despite Lauren James's red card. Georgia Stanway fired wide with the opening penalty, but Nigeria missed their next two efforts, and the European champions secured their spot in the last 8 when Chloe Kelly smashed in the winning kick. In an outburst of frustration, James stamped on Michel Alozier's back in the 87th minute after losing possession and was rightly shown a red card following a video assistant referee review. England were given an almighty scare, but face Colombia or Jamaica next Saturday. Such a very anticlimactic situation for Nigerian Super Eagles. Let's still talk football now, and Tottenham have rejected Bayern Munich's latest offer for their striker Harry Kane. Bayern Munich had hoped to agree a deal for the England skipper, but it is understood that the two sides remain apart in the evaluation of the 30-year-old striker. The Bundesliga champions had suggested if their bid for Harry Kane was unsuccessful on this occasion, they would move on to other transfer targets. However, with over 3 weeks of the transfer window still left, it remains to be seen whether that is the case. Kane, who has scored 280 goals in 435 appearances for Tottenham in all competitions, skippered Spurs in Sunday's pre-season game against Shakhtar Donetsk. He has 1 year left on his contract with Tottenham, and there have been no indications whether he'll be willing to extend his contract. If Chairman Daniel Levy elects to keep the England striker, it would effectively end the club's last chance to cash in on their talisman. And that's it, our bulletin at this hour. Thank you most kindly for joining us. Feel free to follow us across our social media platforms where you can get a lot more content. And for more news, you can visit our website, trusttv.com. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. Thank you for your time and good night.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.